Alright, let's give this a try. So, today it is time for the first major finals of ZeroSpace. This is a new RTS game that's been in development for quite a few years. And this particular best of 5 is the very first major finals for the lion's share of $13,000. So this particular series was played a few days ago, last Sunday actually. I was also invited to compete into this tournament myself. Let's just say that I didn't do nearly as well as both of these players. But lucky for me, I'm generally a little bit better at talking about video games than I am at playing them myself. Let's start off with some player introductions. Because first off, with the Grell, effectively they're like plant zerg. You have this creep going around, but it's more like grass. We're looking inside of the main base of ShoWTimE. Now, ShoWTimE, of course, is the Protoss player from StarCraft 2. I would imagine pretty much everybody watching this is going to be familiar with him. His opponent in the bottom left, also a previous StarCraft 2 pro gamer. We're looking inside of the main base of MarineLord. MarineLord these days is the most successful Age of Empires 4 pro. So he has earned like, I think like $300,000 or so in tournament earnings in Age of Empires 4. So he's been playing that game competitively. But both of these players have been practicing this game ever since the early access came out about like 2 weeks ago. And that is important to note. Everything here in this game is likely to change. I would also imagine that the observer interface is going to get a little bit better, because a lot of the things here are quite messy. It's going to take some time, I'm sure, before things are going to be a bit better. I think I can show you guys like a production tab, but from what I've heard, there's actually quite a bit of information still missing in this particular interface. And there's a lot of additional squares as well on the minimap. I think these may be squares of the different observers that were part of this particular game when it was being played live. Anyways, we have an aggressive build right here from ShoWTimE. I'll try to explain the basics of the game as we go on in this particular cast. But long story short, he's decided to open up with a very aggressive hero and then some very aggressive mercenaries as well. So there's currently 3 races in this game, but what we actually have right here for ShoWTimE are mercenaries instead. MarineLord trying his absolute best to defend against this. He does have his own Legion hero. This is one of the heroes that the Legion has access to. Basically, when you choose your race in this game, you can choose between one of 3. So there's the Protectorate, there's the Legion, and there's the Grell. So this is the Legion right over here for MarineLord. We have the Grell over here for ShoWTimE, who's now using the ultimate transformation right here on She Who Stalks, who's the hero that he decided to go for in this game. It's only going to be available, though, for a little bit of time, and while this is active, she's far more tanky, but it's not going to last that long. MarineLord really just trying to defend here, making as many units as he possibly can. The race here that MarineLord is going for, it's not really reminiscent of Terran or Protoss, or really any of the Warcraft 3 races much either. Maybe Undead somewhat, I don't know. It reminds me a lot more of Warhammer 40k. Like, imagine a Warhammer 40k faction where all of these guys are really just simping for the Emperor. It's a beautiful thing. There is actually an Emperor projection as well. Anyways, when you choose your race at the start of a game in ZeroSpace, you also have to choose your mercenary. So the mercenary here that ShoWTimE ended up going for gave him access to these units right over here and then this hero as well. So this is another 6 options that you can choose between. So he decides to jump forward yet again. Legion's gonna have to back up for just a moment. They are also simultaneously competing right now for this middle watchtower. And this is one of the bits of information that, as far as I can tell, doesn't really get displayed very well in this game. So you unlock experience whilst playing the game. Some of it is passively generated. Some of it is generated by holding the watchtowers. And then some of it is generated as well, I think, by fighting and having some good engagements too. And effectively what you get is not so much talents on your hero, but you get talents for your army. So for example, ShoWTimE here has got the Koru Symbiosis, which gives him 30% additional healing and health regen. So there's always fights going on all over the map, as the players are trying to not just have the engagements going down. They don't really care that much about their hero as the game progresses. But it's all about trying to make sure that you get those talents out as quickly as possible. And obviously you want to be able to make a very large army as well. So there's a lot of mechanics at play, but effectively what they've tried to do with ZeroSpace is automate some of the more frustrating mechanical parts of the game. The base building in general, for example, you can queue up, meaning that once you have the resources for certain things, they get planted down. And then you can obviously focus more of your attention on the actual fighting. So these guys over here, they're called Mandragoras. They're very good at splash damage against small melee units, especially. So if you can get them into the battle, you can upgrade them as well to have a bit of an easier time and get them into the fight a bit quicker. But if you get them into the battle, they are going to be able to nibble through all of these small thralls, all of these little guys that the Legion here has been making. Looks like MarineLord is on the run yet again, trying to back off to the safety of his base. Now, the Legion has a pretty cool mechanic as well, where you can make multiple heroes. The other races only have access to one, but the Legion have a specific structure where they can ultimately make 3 of their heroes in total. And that's exactly where this Inquisitress right now is coming from. So he started off with this hero called Galavex. He's got that big fireball that he's been throwing around. And then we have this Inquisitress, who you can also choose to start the game with. But she is going to be added into the mix right now. Now, on the production tab, you can see that we have a lot more units coming out right now as well for ShoWTimE, who seems to be just indeed upgrading these Mandragoras. There is a biomass ability that allows you to upgrade each individual unit if you want to. You don't have to use it on all your units. As a matter of fact, as the game goes on, you don't really have the resources to go ahead and do so. But for now, he's going for these rather expensive Mandragoras, meaning that he can actually bring them up to their maximum strength at this stage in the game. He's going to try and tunnel forward. There we go. It's like the deep burrow charge that we had in StarCraft 2 during, I think, the beta of Legacy of the Void. They took that away from the Ultralisks again at some later time. She Who Stalks, though, is putting in a lot of work. We do have one of those abilities here that's going to pin her in place or at least slow her down. I believe that is from Galavex, so the hero that we started off with. At this point, it seems to me that ShoWTimE has been doing a really good job just grabbing as much of the map as possible. He's also going to send another one of his units here to the bottom right to grab back and neutralize the tower in the bottom right, which is going to make it harder here for MarineLord to actually continuously get all of these resources going. Third base, in the meantime, taken here by the player from France. ShoWTimE, of course, from Germany. He's actually used one of his mercenary charges now to get this Endari Drake out. It has this interesting, I guess, like a poison spew type of ability. I do want to mention, by the way, that I've been playing this game, and I've played maybe like, I don't know, 75 games or so over the last few weeks. But I by no means claim to be an expert, nor do I understand how all of the different abilities and upgrades work, but exactly like that, the Legion is getting destroyed. We have all the Mandragoras charging forward as well. There is She Who Stalks once more, and ShoWTimE trying to break through all of this army. I think at the bare minimum, this third base is likely to die. In the meantime, we also have a third base here taken, another Bloomwell here for ShoWTimE. He's making that deep one out front. He already put that structure down some time ago, and indeed that's the third base dying right here. Now, there's 2 resources in this game. Similar to StarCraft 2, we have Hexite, kind of like the minerals, and then we have the Flux. All the players that I know refer to it as gas. I wonder why. Maybe we could call it gold and lumber instead. Maybe that would be slightly more descriptive. But anyways, oh, I guess the GG just got called, so that's one of the features that's not yet in the replays. We can't see the text, and we also can't see a victory screen. I'm sure the developers will get to that at some point, but just to finish my thought here, the Hexite is being harvested by these garrison towers, so you can plant all of these things down, or obviously one of these things, right, the Bloomwells. You can plant those down on top of one of those big resource nodes, and then each of your main structures can produce these other harvesters too. And what you do is you just plant them down one time, and they will go to these flux deposits. So the flux deposits are automatically harvested. If there's no space on one of your flux deposits, they will automatically route themselves to one of the outer ones as well. So, for example, if there was no space right now, we'd probably see some of them moving on over here to this one. And then as the game progresses, you see also flux falling out of the high heavens. An example of that is right over here, which gives you significantly more. So even though, and I feel like that's kind of the theme that the developers are going for, even though a lot of this stuff can be automated, it's beneficial to do it all manually yourself, right? So, for example, as far as the flux situation, it's probably best if you transport some of your harvesters to the more exposed, but also the more resource-heavy locations instead. Okay, and that takes us to game number 2. So the map is called Canyon. All the maps are remarkably similar, although this one does have a bit of a different setup across the board. So this is a good example over here of ShoWTimE trying to queue something up. So this little worker unit, this seedling, will automatically turn into one of those production structures of his, one of these bloom wells, when he has 400 Hexite available. So he can currently look away and focus on harvesting resources and getting all of these things going in his favor. But obviously, when he goes back home, this base will be automatically built up for him. And it's a pretty nice feature where you can automate some of the stuff and you can, yeah, queue up almost half your build order whilst still not being forced to look away much from your army when it's actually important. Nice snipe right over here by Galavex here. So what MarineLord has done is once more open up with the same hero. What ShoWTimE has done is swap over to 2 different ones. So this is a bit of a specialty hero in the game. You choose one of them, but you get 2. So these are about half as strong as your average hero that you can produce. What's really cool about ZeroSpace is that the rules that they've come up with for the tournament is that you cannot play the same mercenary twice in a row. I don't know if you can actually do repeats at all. So this is a best of 5. There's 6 mercenaries available in the game, so 6 different groups. So they give you different units, but also 1 different hero for each of the factions. So the hero we saw, the She Who Stalks in the previous game, was the faction-specific hero. And Torque over here together with Mondar is another group then, right? So it's pretty neat. We apparently are now going to be battling over here for the very first objective, as we do have one of them throwing a hammer here. That's going to be an easy slowdown. 260 HP available right now on Galavex. Yeah, Mondar actually has quite a bit. The damage output, though, of these units is not that big, and he is going to be able to get back to the safety of his base reasonably well. Now, you can upgrade each and every single one of these main structures with additional weaponry. So it's kind of like turning your main structure into a planetary fortress, I suppose. The planetary fortress is also available, though, for the Grell. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, they're able to start shooting here as well reasonably reliably. Broodworms are being put down, and then also the Nourishing Pod. Nourishing Pod is effectively like a supply depot, and these are kind of like the barracks. So these are the most basic units can come out of that particular structure, as we have a lot of the thralls available yet again. He's trying his best to see if he can potentially get those heroes to back off. Both players focusing on fast expending. Yeah, and one of the heroes will die. Now, it's important to note that losing a hero in this game, or losing both heroes in this game, is not nearly as big a deal as losing it in Warcraft 3. Because the heroes themselves don't get stronger. The heroes themselves, obviously you want to keep them alive because they have very nice utility, and early game especially, they're very strong. But for now, it's mostly just this momentum that MarineLord gains. Because after a minute or so, those heroes will respawn. But obviously, this gives him the freedom right now to secure all of those towers. And as a matter of fact, he's trying to push through right here. There's once more a bunch of Mandragoras. They're teleporting forward, trying to tunnel on the ground. But since the heroes are not here, he's lacking a little bit of it. Nice bit of micro dough here by the German Protoss. The German Grell? Is that what we call him? Anyways, he's going to be microing the weakened units back, and now that the heroes are once more out on the battlefield, he can try and secure one of the map objectives once again. Man, I feel like the Thralls are very exposed, right? Yeah, it's a little difficult to call a lot of these fights, but the Thralls they're coming out in large groups. They're very, very weak in comparison to Marines. You have another faction called the Protectorate. They have a real Marine type of unit. These are basically just like the weakest type of... It's like a Zergling Marine type of unit, right? They're pretty easy here for the player to snipe. Now, we have a couple of mercenaries out as well. We saw these a lot in the tournament. We have a couple of mercenaries out here as well for MarineLord. That's these Corsair Deadeyes. I'm assuming he's making them specifically to try and snipe these Mandragoras, or just to help him. They're kind of like ghosts in a way. Try and snipe some of the more important units of the opponent. I should probably turn on the production tab again, or at least open one of those things up. Already, though, we have more and more gas being taken here by ShoWTimE. One pretty interesting thing about the harvesters for the Grell is that they can every once in a while put down a cultivator. Now, a cultivator is this little mushroom right over here. It's effectively like a StarCraft Brood War creep colony. You can upgrade it as well to shoot. So, since your harvesters can put it down, you can put some defensive structures around themselves. But unupgraded, they don't really shoot, but they do generate a lot of the... Well, I guess we call it grass? I don't know. A lot of the green stuff that's surrounding this. I guess if you're a Grell player, you don't have to leave the house. You can just touch grass right in the middle of all of this. Another one of the mercenaries coming in. This is a towbot. The towbot can do many things. But it can definitely shoot beams here. I don't know what it does. I'll just pretend that I know what it does. Oh, it can tow units towards it. It's like a Viper. Not bad. Now, obviously, right, this is an early access game. It's gonna be in development for a while longer, but already in the couple weeks that I've been playing this for, they have made a lot of updates. And what's pretty cool is that right after this tournament wrapped up, they announced weekly, I think this is $400 cups, I want to say, or $500 cups, that they're running for the foreseeable future. Pretty sweet. So, because of weekly tournaments, I mean, we already had some of them being played previously, I would expect to see players like Clem, for example, sign up for them regularly. Clem already, I think he's currently the number 2 on the ladder. Nurtio is actually currently the number 1 on the ladder, in case you're familiar with StarCraft. It's a name that I haven't heard in many years. But he decided to apparently give this game a shot. Still apparently has what it takes, because we have a lot of units here getting towed towards the high ground. The ball here of Galavek's not really achieving that much, as those Mandragoras are putting in a lot of work. If they can tunnel forward yet again, indeed, they're going to get within range, and he is just eating those thralls alive. So far, the Legion does not seem to be able to achieve that much. He does have the sheer numbers advantage, though, and that's the main problem he's running into right now. Obviously, he's also forcing that defender's advantage right here for MarineLord, who's just making a lot more army closer to the battle. And with a lot of those upgraded mandatory, or a lot of those mercenary units rather coming out, we do have enough to ultimately push back the Grell player. Making an expansion is expensive. Third base right now being acquired here by ShoWTimE. Likewise, we have the third base here acquired by MarineLord. He's making a lot of additional barracks. I'm assuming you can guess what they do. Terror Tower, though, is a little bit different. So the Legion also have access to a bunch of these interesting towers. There's like a healing tower, a shooting tower, and then the Terror Tower. This is a tech-related structure that allows him access to the largest units that the Legion can produce. So if you plant down, for example, a terror tank close to the Terror Tower, it builds significantly quicker, which is something I didn't know until I made about, I want to say 20 of those guys in like 20 different games. Not ideal. Valkyrie Beast, another one of the mercenaries coming out of the air. Trying his best to push back this army. Always difficult, right? To push back your opponent's army when you have mostly melee units. Yeah, you have the faster, the maybe more mobile army here as ShoWTimE, but the ranged units can obviously shoot at you pretty easily. Dark Disciples right now coming out, actually, so that's a different type of unit. We also have a bunch of these Corsair Rovers. I have no clue what they do, but I know that they are from the free Corsair mercenaries. I guess he's no longer really getting these Corsair Deadeyes. I believe the Corsair Deadeyes are specifically very good against light armored units. And I'm guessing these rovers are probably going to be a little bit better against what I would imagine is medium and heavy armor here for ShoWTimE. Now, if this game indeed catches on, and I think it probably will, as long as, yeah, ultimately the 1.0 comes out, we'll probably all get more familiar with the game as things proceed. At this point in time, a lot of things are still mostly a guessing game, I think, for a lot of people. You gotta try and play it confidently, right? And try and see as a player whether or not you can take any of these engagements. But MarineLord has been grinding. MarineLord mentioned he wants to be the number 1 on the ladder, and he's been putting in a ton of work. I think he's probably played quite a few more games, actually, as ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE a little bit more uncertain with his army movement. These are, by the way, the Dark Disciples. You do have these really weird... I don't know if we're going to see any of them in this game, but you do have these really weird dinosaurs things as well for the Legion. So they're like a dinosaur, and you can put units on their back. I mean, they look like dinosaurs to me. Maybe they're not called dinosaurs. But you can put like a Dark Disciple in the saddle, which changes the way the unit works. Like, there's a lot of very interesting mechanics. Okay. As we now have a whole lot of these workers getting moved on over towards some of the corner flux. He's got a nice soft contain here on the Grell player as well. Neither player really wanting to move too far, it seems. There is an advantage for fighting onto the grass. So, as the Legion player, he is trying to avoid it a bit. Although he's found a couple of vulnerable units here. Some of them trying to harvest the flux. He's decided to slow things down a bit. Wait for just a moment. This is now giving ShoWTimE, though, the opportunity to potentially break out of the game. A lot of the mercenaries are being blasted down. Mandragoras are breaking through. That big fireball, oh my lord, exploding all over the map. Still though, the Thralls are, for all intents and purposes, free. The Mandragoras, not so much. At this point, we also just have such a big economy. And this is ShoWTimE tapping out of game number 2. MarineLord evens up the score. And that takes us to a map called a New Star Sand. So a best of 5, where the score right now is evened up. I think I explained all the basics. I'm trying to... okay, so I think if you lose the game, you can do the same mercenary group again. Yeah, that appears to be the case. I'm not sure what we actually have right here for MarineLord. You'll probably have to swap out of it. I'm missing quite a few of the overlay data, though, right? Like, I don't have any health bars, for example. I was just looking at the settings, trying to see if I can turn them on. My health bar settings are turned on, but for some reason I can't see them. We're also missing still some animations and all the rest of it. Now, the guys from ZeroSpace did recently mention that they, with the success of the early access so far, are fully funded to the 1.0 edition of this game. When they used the term fully funded, I immediately did get Stormgate flashbacks. So let's hope the 1.0 of this game is gonna look a little bit different than the Stormgate 1.0. I always get people asking whatever happened to that game. Let's just say there was a little bit of drama. And with a little bit of drama, I mean a lot of bit of drama. But so far, I gotta say, I have been enjoying this game quite a bit. So, across the board, I really think strategically the game is really fun to play. There's still a lot of refinement that needs to be done, and I think once that refinement is in, everything will feel significantly better too. Right now, sometimes the units bug out and they don't fire at all. Sometimes the animations just sort of derp out too, and you're not sure, hey, are you even doing anything? Like, are you firing, or is the animation just bugged? There's issues you run into every once in a while. Hotkeys sometimes break. There's like little things, right? But that's, I guess, the nature of an early access game. They're really treating this as just like a playground to try out many different things on. Looks like this hero is gonna get sniped. I don't really see how it's gonna be able to get out. Heroes do get a little bit of a boost and then also some additional regen, but even ShoWTimE gave up there at the end. He does have Mondar, though, the other one of the 2 heroes, already securing the tower over here in the bottom left. Hey, look, now the colors are working on the minimap. Huh. So now the towers are red and green. I don't think that was the case in the previous game. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I really like playing Stormgate. It was actually a pretty fun game. But long story short, they suddenly released the 1.0 edition of the game when it wasn't quite done. Like, you can call something 1.0, obviously, but 1.0 usually means the game is finished. Dude, he's a big fan of these Mandragoras. It's actually kind of funny, too, because I've been playing some Grell myself, and I've been struggling against the Legion. I have made about 7 Mandragoras by accident, but never really on purpose. Right away from seeing these games, I immediately get inspired here by ShoWTimE to maybe make those units every once in a while, huh? Maybe they're not a bad choice. MarineLord, a little bit more hesitant, it seems, to really mix up his playstyle much. He's gunning an armory going right now. He does have a citadel, so the citadel, I believe, is one of the upgrade structures. Effectively, all units have at least 1 upgrade, as far as I know. So, for example, for the Grell, you have like 3 different unit-producing structures. Kind of like one at Hatchery Tech, one at Lair, one at Hive, right? So the one at Hatchery Tech would be these Brood Wombs. And then for each of them, you also have like a tech structure that you can get. So it allows you to upgrade all of those units pretty smoothly. Now, I will say that I have been, like when I first started playing, the unit legibility was one of my main complaints. A lot of the units kind of blended together, and I couldn't quite figure out if that was because I'm so used to StarCraft 2. Right? Maybe StarCraft 2 is also a confusing game, but because I've played it so much, things just kind of make sense to me. Or if it's just something that the game actually needs to work on. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Getting more familiar with the game definitely has made the unit legibility quite a bit better too. But there's quite a few, especially I think units for the Grell, that tend to, I don't know, look quite similar to me. Kind of miss a little bit of a scoreboard on this screen as well, huh? Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I can show, oh, apparently ShoWTimE's point of view. That's kind of fun. Camera lock. What does this do? Oh, okay, so this is what ShoWTimE is looking at whilst playing the game. So we have that built in, but not a scoreboard? Obviously an observer interface. At this point, it's probably mostly just a proof of concept, as we have the Mandragoras once more moving through. Try to make sure that he sends all of those units to the different watchtowers. The game does just have fully fledged hotkey support, by the way. So, just like in StarCraft 2, you can, for example, select one of those Mandragoras, hit Alt+2, which then steals it from Control Group 1, allowing you to quickly send units towards these corner pillars over here, these towers that give you additional score and ultimately give you additional talents. You can see that reflected right now, by the way, here for MarineLord, who's got, indeed, a whole lot of talents here. He's got 3 already versus ShoWTimE's 2. They are working on a 4th faction as well. So at this point, there's 3 of them. So there's the Grell, the Protectorate, the Legion. But they're also working on one called the Zol. A very weird faction at this point in time. They have like a weird light mechanic. I don't quite understand how it works. But it's already in the game. You just can't play it in competitive 1v1s. So if you want to play the latter, they're still working on it. It's not currently something that is available. Looks like we have a big attack, though, coming in right here for ShoWTimE. Some more barracks here coming through. Ooh, man. The Mandragoras going in and destroying everything is honestly kind of sick. Absolute bloodbath here on the side of MarineLord. That being said, again, we have that huge, defender's advantage. Exactly. All of those units are effectively spawning right into the fight. And it's giving MarineLord yet again the upper hand in that fight as well. So he also still has 2 of the towers. I guess ShoWTimE saw an opportunity. Decided to move in as soon as he, wanted to have the fight. In hindsight, though, I think it's probably better for him to back up. Maybe take another expansion as well. Would not be a terrible idea. So we have production, we have army value. Okay, very similar to StarCraft. Units lost. Yeah, so this is another thing, right? With like early access games, StarCraft 2 suffered from the same thing. The first StarCraft tournaments were won with Reapers. So you just make Reapers, and then more Reapers, and then you make more Reapers. The Legion has unit variety too. But clearly, the only thing that MarineLord is building is Thralls. He's just building the men with gun. I can't blame him too much, because they do appear to be very powerful. And this is one of the reasons as well why you do like having these early tournaments. Is going to give you a lot of additional information as to what the current state of the game is. So this is what MarineLord is looking at whilst playing the game. Although apparently you can't see all of the creep, which is a little bit funky. That might be a graphical glitch though, just for the observer interface. He's being surrounded. ShoWTimE trying to get to the corner, but he is going to recall on out of there. And that's another thing that I haven't really mentioned yet. There are top bar abilities as well for both of the players. So, for example, we've seen already ShoWTimE upgrading a lot of his units, spending some of his points to try and get those units into a better state. Another one of the abilities for a Legion allows you to recall a lot of the troops away. Again, something that isn't really displayed in this overlay. Now, this time around, though, I think he is going to be able to force the engagement. Mandragoras are trying to break through, but I think there's just so many men with guns. Am I right or am I wrong? Wait a second. The men with guns just got absolutely blasted. Oh, my God. All comes down to the engagements, actually. It's kind of nuts. I have been posting some of my own games as well to the Lowko YouTube channel in case you're interested. So that's youtube.com/morelowko. It is going to maybe give you a bit of a different view on what the game looks like from a first-person perspective, because it's definitely a little different than what it appears to be like when you're watching a game between 2 players. Yeah, these upgraded Mandragoras are extremely powerful. Now we also have the Reaver. This is... It looks like a roach, but really what it is an Ultralisk. It's more of an Ultralisk. It has an armor upgrade as well, similar to Ultras. I don't think I can see the Ultras upgrades anywhere. I would imagine, though, he went for the Carapace research. It's gonna be extremely difficult for these little guys to be killing the Reaver here. It's got a charge ability very similar to the Mandragoras. I would imagine, actually, it's probably taking over the role of the Mandragora at this stage in the game. I wonder if ShoWTimE should maybe send it. He's a little bit worried for the supply count. Is he gonna charge forward? He's thinking about it. He's got a second Reaver as well. By the way, the Biomass, the upgrade, the Infusion, it allows you to get the bigger version of the unit out. And then there's a talent as well for the Grell that allows you to infuse it multiple times. So this one is not infused, that one is. You can see it by the sheer size alone. But it can get even bigger than that. Yeah, he's a little bit afraid. I think he realizes now that the supply count here of the Legion player is just so much bigger. Trying to see if he can potentially get this army to force the fight. And here we go. Mandragoras do siege forward. We do have the little mini nuke being utilized yet again. A lot of the expensive units are now dying, though, on the side of ShoWTimE, and that's one of the big problems. Those Legion units are, for all intents and purposes, free. We have 5 base income right now here for MarineLord, who has been mixing in some more of the Dark Disciples again, but for the most part, really, he's just making one type of unit. He's got 8 barracks at this stage in the game. Or no, he's even got 10 barracks at this stage in the game, but he is making a Terror Tank. There it is. So these Terror Tanks have individual upgrades. I believe you can upgrade each Terror Tank 4 times, if I'm not mistaken. So you can choose to, like, give it additional firepower in the form of, like, a flame turret or something else, depending on what serves the situation. And upon seeing the Terror Tank being out, there's really no way for ShoWTimE to stay in the game. So this is giving MarineLord the 2-1 advantage. Okay, that takes us to the map Ascension. Match point right now for MarineLord, who, if I were to make a guess, is gonna make more Thralls. Yeah. I think that's probably the plan. Now, obviously, you can't blame him. Oh, you know what? ShoWTimE. Ha! He switched away from playing Grell. He has decided to play a little bit of Legion himself, too. Yeah, word on the street has it, and with word on the street, I mean word on the Discord has it, that those Thralls are busted, that they're way too good. Judging by the fact that, yeah, they seem to be winning pretty much every fight, even when they get hard countered, I am not entirely disagreeing with it. Now, we do have a mirror matchup because of it, though. Legion versus Legion. The Inquisitress does have this, like, dash ability. She's also very loud, by the way. It's kind of interesting. She's always like, push, push, whenever I play her. Apparently, she makes no sound in the replay match. She has an ability that allows her to dash through a lot of targets as well, as you may have already realized. I do find this a brave choice here, though, from ShoWTimE, right? So, as far as I know, MarineLord has really only been playing Legion. So, he's decided to play Legion versus Legion now. And this faction right over here, I think they're called the Endari, I want to say, or Eldari, something like that. No, that's... that's Warhammer. Anyways, the deep one is allowing him these little guys, and they're extremely powerful. We saw them earlier on in this particular series as well. These little Needlers. Ooh, nice snipe there. These little Needlers are just incredible. MarineLord has a plan for this matchup as well. Maybe he didn't quite expect that ShoWTimE would switch race, but he's gonna go ahead and give it a shot. Yeah, he's gonna break open into the main base. So these worker units are exposed. There is a default shooty ability. There's a tower turret right over here, but it doesn't have that much range. So the main gas over here for ShoWTimE does appear to be exposed. Since his hero just ended up getting sniped, these units can be incredibly oppressive. That one did also not quite hit. ShoWTimE probably feeling a little bit clumsy with a faction that he hasn't played nearly as much. Nice dodge. Very nice dodge right there by MarineLord, who's sending more and more reinforcing units across the map right now. He's got all of the towers under his control as well. Man, ShoWTimE's... Oh, ShoWTimE's trying his best to outplay and out-micro the opponent, but he's not really getting the job done yet. He does have these Corsair Deadeyes again. They're very good against the Needlers. I think that's the main reason, actually, to go for the Corsair Deadeyes, but early game so far has been going very smoothly here for our French Legion player. So now that his units are countered by those snipers, what do we do next? Do we keep making them? Or are we going to save up charges of those mercenaries for a later time? So most of the mercenaries give you multiple units. I think all of them actually give you multiple units, but some give you more than others. There is this giant blob thing that's incredibly good. He's trying to actually just snipe the snipers right now, using the hero ability there to single out the Corsair Deadeye. There is a little bit of a high ground advantage, if I'm not mistaken, so you do want to avoid fighting up a ramp. Okay. Bottom left being captured. Middle also being captured. Is anybody gonna blink for a third, or are we just gonna try and mass army? For now, ShoWTimE does still have a very solid amount of supply. Can't really blame him all too much for that. Both players trying to loom around each other. Upper right-hand corner being retaken now again too. ShoWTimE manages to strike back. He may have been in some trouble earlier on, but those Corsair Deadeyes really did change the mechanics of the game a bunch. It looks, though, that we're still going to double down on the Needlers anyways. Maybe this is one of the Needlers, actually, that was still alive. Yeah, I highly doubt he's going to remake more of them, because I've done it in my own games, and it never goes well. Ah, we have another unit called the Steelsworn. I think Steelsworn are specifically good against medium armored units, if I'm not mistaken. I would imagine, though, in this instance, he's mostly just using them as like a way to tank against the opponent's thralls. It looks to me, though, that MarineLord has decided that the counter to more thralls is more thralls of your own. Decides to recall one out of there. It is going to complete. Is he gonna make any switch-ups? Nah. So, we have ShoWTimE making the swap on over towards more different units. Whereas for MarineLord, he's just making more thralls. Yeah, he's going for another hero and more thralls. Fair enough. They do seem to be pretty strong. Maybe the Steelsworn, though, will show us what you can actually do with them specifically. Yeah, maybe they're actually better against light than they are against medium. That would make more sense at the very least. Try to pick off whatever you can. Neutralizing the towers once more. MarineLord did split off a unit earlier to try and recapture bottom left. ShoWTimE right now recapturing the recapture. Since MarineLord, though, was pretty far ahead in that regard for a long time, he did already get an extra talent out. The reanimation ability allows him to now also target heroes. That's that purple thing that you may have seen on the heads of many of these Legion thralls. It allows them to, well, I believe respawn after they die. There's like some rules to it, but it's effectively a buff for every single individual unit that's affected by it, and you can still see a bunch of the purple markers here on some of these units as well. He's trying to force the fight right now, though. Get some of the snipers here, get some of the thralls as well. Ooh, nice boost forward as well. MarineLord trying to chase down his army, and while previously, his supply count may have been a little bit behind ShoWTimE's, he's going to be able to grab that advantage right now. ShoWTimE's Steelsworn trying to go in, but they're just being blasted by the thralls for the most part. The hero control right here for MarineLord is excellent. He's also simultaneously able to grab this back. A lot of the units are going to reinforce this too, and suddenly ShoWTimE's army supply absolutely got destroyed. And while ShoWTimE decided to make the swap on over towards some different units, it seems that the thralls may need a little bit of an adjustment. It's kind of funny because over the last couple of weeks, there's always like one meta strategy that rises above the rest, right? And then last week it was all about the She Who Stalks hero. That one obviously got nerfed. Still gets played a bunch, but she obviously got nerfed. I think that this week we'll probably see some balance adjustments for the Thralls in particular. Now, what's kind of nice, of course, is that this is made by a small studio. They are paying attention to all of this. As a matter of fact, they hosted this particular invitational event. So they can keep their finger on the pulse and actually reiterate quickly, right? And with the weekly cups, I really think that's smart. With the weekly cups now also coming online, I think the first one is being played on Tuesday. It's very likely that players will actually put in the work and practice and play a couple games here and there. It's unlikely that we see anybody currently switch over to this game full time, like none of the established pros. I would imagine MarineLord is likely going to be playing more Age of Empires 4, and ShoWTimE is going to continue playing StarCraft 2, but maybe on Tuesday, right? Just to keep up with the production. Maybe this game is the future, who really knows? Maybe you should play in that weekly instead, because maybe everybody else is going to suck and you can get yourself some money. Without too much effort. And then if multiple people think that, you get rivalries real quick. Anyways, it's MarineLord here who wins the $13,000 invitational. And while he did so mostly just spamming heroes and making the one unit. I mean, everything is fair in a game like this, right? He's not abusing any bugs or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if next time around he's gonna have to mix things up a little bit more. GG.